In this video, we got to break down some insider information about the potential problems with 343 and Halo Infinite. We have some reviews of former Halo Infinite 343 employees, so we can dig into them, break them down, and they are going to potentially share with us what went wrong and what are the problems plaguing 343. So let's jump right in. But the GameLeap website is the best place to absolutely dominate. For those of you who want cracked mechanical skills and to learn and earn the skills to just dominate your opposition, do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, 343 has definitely been having some problems. It's not just from the state of the game. We've seen a deep dive where we looked into the problems with their engine and the problems with their gig work, shuffling in and out people, and the fact that they had to basically rework Halo Infinite from the ground up not that long ago relative to the entire working cycle of the game. Now, that being said, it seems that there have been some reviews on Glassdoor that have come out giving us a little bit of insight into some of the problems that the employees that have been working on Halo Infinite have been dealing with. Now, before we get started though, while there isn't a huge reason to lie about this, especially before it got attention, there is nothing to validate these as being official 343 employees. There's nothing that validates this as being true, so we can only assume what they're saying is correct or incorrect, and that's all we have to go on. No guarantee that any of this is true, but if a real former 343 employee wants to come reach out to me, we can have an interview, we can talk all about it, and you can hit me up on Discord. But jumping in, let's read the first employee review that said this: used to be great, but becoming more negative lately. Pros: I have some great coworkers. These people will be friends for life. They taught me a lot and are nice and interesting. Cons: 343 used to be great. Managers were positive and approachable. My team and I were given challenging, interesting work. A few months ago, something happened. Even positive managers became aggressive and critical. Workloads became suffocating. It was a great place to work, but now it's a job where I watch the clock waiting to leave. My team thought it would get better after the game launched, but it got worse. This is over most teams, and some of our key employees are starting to leave for other companies. Advice to management: let staff give anonymous reviews of managers. Now, reading this at face value, it seems like a legitimate review because I understand exactly this problem. I've worked on teams exactly like this. I know what it's like. Basically, what happens is as you approach closer to a deadline, upper management or even the producers give the people directly below a lot of pressure. And in this case, it would probably be the managers. A lot of pressure to do certain things, a lot of pressure to get the game out in a good state, whatever the case may be. And those managers, because their jobs, their livelihoods are on the line, they don't want to get fired, whatever the case may be, they put a ton of aggressive pressure on the actual workers down below. And while I can't confirm this, more often than not, it stems from all the way up the chain, some unrealistic expectations or not proper leadership. Like, imagine a manager is given some sort of goal that is insanely hard. They have to be crazy aggressive and they have to push their team to the absolute limit and work a lot of hours in order to accomplish. And if they don't accomplish that, they are the ones that are going to get in trouble really hard. So they go down to the people that they're in charge of, and then they're super aggressive, and then they're super critical. And then those people lose the passion because they are just being faced with these unobtainable goals and then being punished for it even when they're working their asses off. So they have no passion. And then in addition to that, upper management, when, you know, a manager doesn't perform or a worker doesn't perform, they get replaced. So you could see how that could create a really toxic environment. And at the end of the day, no one should be working their absolute asses off if you have the money to support the team, right? You hire more people. You have good managers that want to stick around because you treat them right. You have tons of resources in place. It's not like 343 or Microsoft are tiny ass companies, right? There's a lot of backing here. There's no reason that people should be, you know, splitting hairs trying to get a goddamn game out. They're not going to stick around. They're going to lose the passion. And yeah. It definitely is sad to see, but I am not surprised. And while I can't validate this review, it just feels like a legitimate one, if I'm being honest. Now, the next review said this, quote, big corporation feel good PR with toxic culture inside. Pros: good pay, good benefits if you're full time. What would you expect in a big corporation? Working in big IP, which will likely look good in resume. Some good, talented people who can befriend with and learn from. Cons: unqualified leadership. Some upper management has little to no idea how video games are made. They are there because they learn how to play the corporate game. Hard to advance within the studio. You are either hired as a senior or lead, or you try to play the corporate game, which is ironic for a studio who constantly celebrate diversity and inclusion. What's diversity if you just want to conform everyone to a corporate model instead of letting them do what they do best? Little to no accountability. Leadership has little to no accountability. When they make a bad decision that causes downstream teams work long hours, they usually just brush it off with a half-hearted sorry, or worse, find a scapegoat. While this is problematic, people often still are there collecting big paychecks and big bonuses. Advice to management: listen to the people who are actually doing the work. Don't just trust whatever middle management is telling you, and stop covering for people who are friendly with you. At this rate, you will end up with an empty shell studio. People left without anyone asking them why. That's a huge issue. Now, once again, I can't tell you if this is true or untrue 100%, but it's another review that just feels very, very genuine. Many of you in the corporate world know exactly what this is like. If you are liked, if you play the game, if you are friendly, oftentimes you'll be put in a position of power and you don't deserve it. Or maybe you abuse that position of power. And it can happen in any corporation, and it's no surprise it happens in 343. Gaming has constantly been one of those industries that have actually mistreated the workers the most, and this type of toxic culture has been rampant. You can just look at some of the big scandals that have happened. For instance, Blizzard, where there have been huge problems that come out of nowhere from inside the toxic company. And even though 343 doesn't seem to be having that level of problems, it still always exists. And I think ultimately it comes down to the fact that there are a lot of people that want to be in esports. A lot of people want to be in gaming companies, and these companies know it. These corporations know it. They'll find someone else that is interested. They'll find someone else that wants to work on the Halo game. So who cares how you treat them? Who cares how you take care of them? Except we care, except the end product cares. And I do think that there's just been a lot of corners cut, a lot of mismanagement. I mean, there's just a lot of problems, and I don't know what the current state of things are now. This was a while ago, this review, and of course, we don't know how valid this stuff is, and I will never know because no developer has actually wanted to talk to me. No developer has been transparent about this stuff, understandably so to an extent, but at the end of the day, it doesn't surprise me. None of this information surprises me. It just makes me sad, but I hope that someone with the dream, someone with the vision comes in, brings down the hammer, and treats people fairly based on their ethic and their worth. Not their freaking attitude, not their connections, not how they play the corporate ladder, but instead what they provide to the end product, the passion they bring, and at the end of the day, the people that are in charge, you need to be properly funding the game. You need to be properly leading the game to success, giving reasonable work to enough people. There should be no shortage of staff. There should be no shortage of money. There should be no shortages anywhere, realistically. This is the flagship IP for Microsoft. There is absolutely no reason that this shouldn't have all the stops, all the bells, all the whistles, and it's really in your best interest to do so, or else Halo might actually just have permanent long-term damage. The next generation isn't interested in Halo. You need to do the right things now and use all the resources that you possibly can so that Halo will exist, you know, for the next 5-10 years, and you're gonna make a lot of money in the long term. Everyone wants that, so come on, just get it done. Anyways, I really want to hear your opinion about all this down below. How do you feel about 343? How do you feel about Halo Infinite? What do you feel like their big problems are? Let me know down below, and go to the GameLeap website if you want to support the channel. We have a ton of games on there if you want to absolutely dominate any esports titles. But that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for coming by. I'll see you next time.